What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode 100 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast. I'd like to give a big shout out to our new listeners from the island of Cyprus. That brings our total up to 56 countries. And wow, on this 100th episode, I just want to thank all of my listeners. And if you want to help us to reach more people in more countries, subscribe, follow, and share the link with your friends, or click on the support link in this episode's description. Your donation of any amount could change a life. When we come back, we'll get into this episode entitled Haunted by Shame. Welcome back to episode 100 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast entitled Haunted by Shame. That's right. Today we're going to talk about shame. You see, I've received many requests for this topic in response to last week's episode on negative feelings and emotions. The questions and comments I got all tended to sound like this. David, how do I let go of my shame? Can I ever outlive it? It seems that whenever I'm alone and my mind drifts a bit, it always drifts to shame about the things I did in the past. Will shame haunt me the rest of my life? Sure. So here, guys, in response to those sorts of questions, we're going to look at shame today. Well, let me start by defining 3 words so that we can really focus in on the topic. The first word is guilt. We feel guilty by acknowledging that we did something wrong. It's an important step in recovery to own and acknowledge our guilt, because as long as we remain in denial and refuse to accept our guilt, our addiction lingers and endures. The second word is embarrassment. It's sort of that awkward feeling that we get when we realize that our actions have been discovered and become public, and we fear that this discovery will damage our self-image, and we're concerned about what others will think about us. It can simply be defined as that painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. And the third word is the one we're going to really deal with today. So not guilt, not embarrassment, shame. And this can be thought of as the next level of embarrassment or humiliation when we begin to believe that something is definitely wrong with us. We begin to take on all of the social stigma associated with our behavior and say, no, this is who I am. We reach the point where it's no longer our actions that are bad, but it's ourself. We begin to say that I am awful, I'm a bad person, I'm no good. Yeah, that reminds me of a song by the Beatles. And today we're actually going to have 2 songs from the sort of British invasion of my teenage years. So the first one is I'm a Loser by the Beatles. Listen to the lyrics. I'm a loser, and I'm not what I appear to be. Although I laugh and I act like a clown, beneath this mask I am wearing a frown. My tears are falling like rain from the sky. Is it for her or myself that I cry? I'm a loser, and I lost someone who's near to me. I'm a loser, and I'm not what I appear to be. What have I done to deserve such a fate? I realize I have left it too late. And so it's true, pride comes before a fall. I'm telling you so that you won't lose all. I'm a loser, and I lost someone who's near to me. I'm a loser, and I'm not what I appear to be. Wow. Can you hear from those lyrics the sense of hopelessness from shame? Well, American author Dr. Brené Brown said, and I quote, "Shame corrodes the very part of us that believes we are capable of change." Wow. And Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung said it this way: shame is a soul-eating emotion. We're getting deep here. Israeli-American author Leigh Bardugo wrote, "We can endure all kinds of pain. It's shame that eats men whole." Shuh. Do you hear those words? Shame eats men whole. Shame eats your soul. Shame corrodes, it rusts that part of us that believes we can change. Can you see why it's so important to leave the past in the past? I believe that failure to leave the past in the past and remaining haunted by shame can destroy our future. We stay trapped thinking about what we have lost in our yesterdays, that we even stop living in today. This level of shame is seen as toxic shame. And toxic shame is a feeling that you're worthless. It happens when other people treat you poorly and you turn that treatment into a belief about yourself. You see, we're most vulnerable to this type of poor treatment during our childhood or as a teenager. The causes of this toxic shame can be many. Here's a few. One is that you're constantly being told in your childhood that you're not enough. Hearing words from your parents as a child like, "What's wrong with you?" Or, "What were you thinking when you did that?" Or, "Why do you always do that?" Or, "Why can't you be like your brother?" Or one I heard often, "Can't you see how you're embarrassing your mother and I?" Wow, can you feel the shame that grows out of that childhood? Another cause from our childhood would be emotional abuse that we get from parental gaslighting during our childhood. By this I mean when our parents convince us as children that our thoughts or our feelings are always wrong, or when our parents change the script, so to speak, by telling us that our version of our memory is wrong, and these certain events and activities didn't happen that way, and they put a new spin on us and try to convince us that their version of the story is the truth. Childhood sexual abuse is another root cause of toxic shame. As an adult, especially when we first shared with our parents about this abuse and they laughed it off or said we must be mistaken. And from that point on, we just shut down and never talked to anyone about what was happening. Another cause of toxic shame is religious conditioning as a child, and this can also lead to toxic shame as an adult. This is specifically true if you grew up in a purity culture doctrine, which made you feel dirty and permanently impure for things you did or even things you just thought about. Another one is the social stigma about addiction or homelessness or incarceration. And this can result in toxic shame as we feel people's judgment every time we're out in public. It's that feeling that cuts deep when you hear someone in their car click on the automatic door locks when they see you on the pavement. And finally, another cause of this toxic shame that goes into our adulthood is the low self-esteem from being bullied in school. Remember the names that you were called in school. Can you still feel the emotional scars at this stage of your life? And will they remain just as visible scars can remain for life? Wow, that's quite a list to ponder. So what does our adult life look like if we're haunted by this toxic shame? WebMD lists the dangers of toxic shame as withdrawal. And this is withdrawal from relationships, from family and society, from life itself. It's that time when you feel like you just want to curl up in a ball and disappear whenever you feel any shame. Another danger is anger. And that's because you feel emotional pain. You become angry and try to aim your pain away from yourself to someone else. You get caught up in blame shifting and aggression and anger out of your frustration. Another result or danger is that you could become a perfectionist. And in that, you have unrealistic expectations of what's going to happen in your life and what you have to do to avoid being shamed again. And you live in this constant anxiety and stress as a result. Another result would be substance abuse or other addictions like pornography and other sexual addictions, where you create a fantasy life or self-medicate to try to numb or escape the pain of the shame. This would also be true of eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, and things like that. And it can also result in self-harm, cutting, and other forms of self-harm. All these are dangers of toxic shame. And so what a deep list that is. So how do we recover from toxic shame? Well, Dr. Brené Brown says the most powerful antidote for shame is empathy. And I can almost hear you guys shaking your head and saying, David, where do we find this empathy? Well, I'd like to outline 4 C's for you, the letter C, 4 C's. And the first one is courage. We need to find the courage to face the root of our shame. This involves working with your coach or counselor or sponsor to uncover this root, to examine your feelings about it, and to understand the damage that was done to you. The second way to recover from toxic shame, the second C, is compassion. We need to develop a compassion for ourselves. We do this by becoming aware about how we think about ourselves, our self-talk. We need to learn how to forgive ourselves and know that even if we made huge mistakes, we're only human. You got that? Our huge mistakes were only human mistakes. Many people use mindfulness exercises in this step of compassion and carry it on as a daily practice going forward. Our third C is communication. In this one, we take the steps of communicating your thoughts and feelings with someone you trust that will respond with empathy and understanding, not those people who've been responding with judgment and disbelief. The fourth C is connection. In this one, I encourage you to seek and develop your support network. This not only ensures that you'll have people to talk to and bounce your thoughts off of, you will also be growing your sense of belonging as you stay connected to your support people. In closing, I'm reminded of my second song for today, which is Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me by Elton John. Here's some of the lyrics. I can't light no more of your darkness. All my pictures seem to fade to black and white. I'm growing tired, and time stands still before me, frozen here on the ladder of my life. Too late to save myself from falling. I took a chance and changed your way of life, but you misread my meaning when I met you, closed the door, and left me blinded by the light. Don't let the sun go down on me. Although I search myself, it's always someone else I see. I just allow a fragment of your life to wander free. But losing everything is like the sun going down on me. Shaw. As you listen to the words of that song, I want to ask you these questions to ponder. Has toxic shame left you frozen on the ladder of life, unable to even find yourself, and stuck living in the memories of all the things you lost? And I want to challenge you by saying, are you ready to sing along and say, don't let the sun go down on me? Are you ready for the dawning of a new day in your life, free from toxic shame? Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. If you would like to join an online group or get one-on-one counseling to help you as you start your journey of freedom from toxic shame, please message me on the link in this podcast or by email at davidfromatod@gmail.com, or go to my website, www.fromatod.org, and click on the contact page. You can keep in touch with what we're doing in From A to D by following me on Instagram at David From A to D. Tune in Monday for our next episode, and as always, stay safe and stay strong.